So we all went into this movie expecting Ant-Man and the Wasp and all the other side characters like Cassie and Hank, and it's kind of crazy that Hank's a side character, but Hank Pym, Hope Van Dyne, but we all came to this movie for one very good reason: a conqueror. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to my Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania review, but most importantly, welcome to the MCU Phase 5. There's a lot I want to talk about this movie, but I'm going to keep this spoiler filled, just because I find it very difficult to explain how I feel about something without talking about spoilers, because then I just end up talking in circles, and those circles start to hint at what those spoilers are, and I'd rather just talk to you guys about it now that we've all had the chance to see this movie. And if you haven't seen the movie yet, come back to this video later. I'd love to talk about it with you guys, but I just want to start talking about the characters.
We had a deal. You thought you could win.
So there's not much to talk about when it comes to characters. There are only 3 characters that were new to the franchise, main characters anyways, and one is kind of new, and that starts with Cassie. Cassie isn't a new character or anything, but after Endgame, she was aged up quite a bit. Scott lost a lot of time with her because of the blip, and not because he was blip, but because he was stuck in the quantum realm for 4 hours. And I think that this movie did both a great job and a poor job leaning into that whole dynamic between this older Cassie and Scott. Scott mentions a few times he's missed a few birthdays. He wants to be there for her, but he also doesn't, feel involved with her life as much as he'd like to be. He doesn't know she's been arrested. He's missed a few birthdays. He doesn't know she's been working on quantum stuff. She doesn't know she has her own suit. So I get where they went in that direction, but I wish they leaned into it a little bit more when it came to motivations between King and Scott. I do think that King should have used that whole argument of time a little bit more aggressively towards Scott, or at least the writer should have. King obviously doesn't know the story between Scott and Cassie when it happened with the blip and all that. I don't even know if the blip really affects anyone in the quantum realm. Scott lost a lot of time with Cassie, and I think that would be a driving factor to his motivation to helping King, because in the trailer they made it seem that way, but here it was just, you're a monster, I'm not going to help you. He's like, okay, let's kill your daughter then. And Scott's like, wait, no, stop. It was just a prank, bro, just a prank. So I think they should have leaned into that a little bit more. I think that would have been a little bit more emotional aspect of the film, tying the blip into things a little bit more. Speaking of King, I want to talk about King, another new protagonist or antagonist, if you want to consider that, and new if you don't consider He Who Remains in Loki. But Kang, wow, Kang was incredible. I am shocked with how well Jonathan Majors delivered his performance here. He is such an incredible actor, and I'm not very familiar with his work. This is kind of my first time seeing Jonathan Majors in anything. I know he's in Creed, so we have another variant of Kang coming out next month, but he did such a great job at intimidating me as an audience member. Every single time I saw him on screen and he spoke, just the way he'd speak, the emotion that was conveyed through his facial expressions, it was scary. It was, wow, this dude's going around killing multiverses. That sucks. This is a lot worse than a guy creating, an Infinity Gauntlet, complex with stones to wipe out half the universe. Because Kang's not here to wipe out half of the universe. He wants it all. He wants the entire goddamn multiverse. But I really enjoyed this performance. I am so excited to see more of Kang. Where they left him off, I think, is a good, placeholder, I suppose, before we see him again in either Loki Season 2, the Kang Dynasty, or whatever other Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 5 projects we see him in. And another character I want to bring up is MODOK, or the mechanical organism designed only for killing, or MODOK if you're Scott Lang. Not much to talk about here. I'm pretty sure we all knew it was going to be Darren Cross from, Ant-Man, aka Yellow Jacket. That was in the Yellow Jacket. And yeah, he shrunk down in that helmet. He kind of shrunk down in, ended up being his body, and Kang reprogrammed him to be MODOK. He was portrayed as a really goofy villain here, and I guess that's to be expected just because he is a goofy character. He's a big head on a chair with little tiny baby legs and baby arms, and it makes sense. He was shrunk down and he got, stuck in this form, and he doesn't like Scott, he doesn't like Hank for it, and he doesn't like Cassie for it. And at the end of the film, he has this, you know, arc where he decides not to be a dick anymore, and that's his whole shtick. He just chose not to be a dick. That's pretty much everything I want to talk about when it comes to characters. When it comes to, you know, Hope and Hank and Scott, it's all the same. We've seen these characters before. I'm not going to waste your guys' time talking about things we already know. They act the same. You know, the character dynamics don't change. I just wanted to talk about the new actors and characters that got introduced into the mix.
I don't have to win. We both just have to lose. I'm sorry, Cassie.
So the next thing I want to talk about is the story, and there was a story, all right, but I didn't really care about the story. I cared about Kang, but more on that in a second. The story was Cassie made a quantum realm GPS, and when she activated it, they learned it was sending a signal down there, which we learned later on that MODOK hijacked for Kang. And Janet gets all upset because she knows what's down there, and that is my first problem with the film. They did this like 4 times in the movie where Janet was like, oh, there's things down there I don't want to talk about. And then it cuts. And they're like, well, what's going on? She's like, I don't want to talk about it. And they ask her like 3 more times. And then she just still doesn't want to talk about it until literally Cassie's about to get murdered by goddamn King the Conqueror. That really annoyed me. I hate that movie trope. And the character's like, I know something, but I can't really say it right now. It continued on for half the film until Janet finally gave his origin story, and they only do that to keep the audience hooked, but you don't need to do that to keep the audience hooked. I think that explaining what's going on and giving a good reason for not wanting to talk about Kang would have been enough hook for the audience, because I didn't really find a good reason for her not to explain what's going on, just because she was a freedom fighter. She was fighting for people. Why would you not want to talk about that? She stopped Kang, and that's why she was stuck there for so long. I think that's something you should tell your family as one of the reasons why you were stuck down there, why you are a different person now. On top of that, King the Conqueror kills goddamn multiverses. You don't think that's important information to share? We have the Avengers. We have like gods, literal gods that can help with this situation in case, you know, something like this happens. You need contingency plans, and look what's gonna happen. He's gonna get out, and we have a whole Avengers movie coming out because you just didn't want to like say something, and that really makes me upset. That was my first like negative with the film. But they get stuck in the quantum realm, and they get separated, and they meet some freedom fighters, and Kang finds them using MODOK, and that's basically it. MODOK goes to Scott. It's like, I can give you that time back with your daughter, and if you don't help me, I'm gonna kill your daughter. So like, I'm gonna kill your daughter, just help me. And then Scott's like, all right, bet, whatever, I'll help you. And then they go inside the thingy, the probability storm. They get the quantum multiversal battery thingy. They charge that up, and then they break it. It's the story is just go here. It's like a fetch quest. They go here, they get the thing, they help Kang, and it's not interesting for me to really talk about it because the story is not really that interesting to me. Kang was the most interesting aspect of the movie. The story itself, I literally just explained it to you. There's not much there. I just really like Kang. Not really any big plot twist. We knew the signal was going to get picked up by somebody. We knew Kang was the Conqueror. I mean, that was set up from Loki. That's it. That's the story. I thought it was okay at best. I was more excited for Kang is what I'm trying to say. I think there was a lot of, typical MCU jokes in there. If you've seen the film, you know what I talk about. My favorite one was obviously I'm never going to give you the code for the bridge. Oh, and the telepath was like, oh, the code's this. He's like, damn. that was like, that I got a good laugh out of me. I like that. I thought the score was great. The score was very nice. Nothing particularly stood out to me in terms of the music. I am more excited for Guardians on that front. But yeah, the movie basically ends with Kang, he's going ham, he's wiping people off the face of the quantum realm, and then a whole bunch of ants charge in because Hank and the ants are smart now, and they charge him and they carry him off. So Kang the Conqueror was defeated by big ass ants. And I think that really bothers me because they hype him up to be such a badass. He's like, oh, are you an Avenger? Have I killed you before? And he's just such a scary character, and he gets carried off by ants. And I know like he's stuck in the quantum realm. He's not as powerful as he could be, blah, blah, blah. But it was just really underwhelming to hype him up and have him carried off by ants. And yes, he does come back. That wasn't the end of it. He does beat up Scott. But I really think somebody needed to die there to further solidify that this is the next Thanos. He did something crazy. This is someone someone we need to look out for. I think someone really needed to die in this movie to drive out that emotional turn. This is the Stepstone MCU Phase 5 movie. Something crazy needed to happen, but it just felt, not filler, but it felt like an obligation. Not a filler, but an obligated movie. There was nothing really spectacular about this film. The visuals were great, soundtrack was great, but nothing really particularly stood out. So now Kang is stuck in the quantum realm. Whether he's going to pop back up, I don't know, but they make a big deal about it when Scott's back up in the normal world. He's like, did we stop Kang? Because I didn't see him die. Yeah, it's probably fine, but is it fine? And so obviously that's a little tongue-in-cheek moment for us MCU fans who are excited, and Marvel fans who are excited to see more of Kang, but that's basically where the movie ends off. But there's one more thing I really do want to talk about.
So, what's it gonna be? Ant-Man.
The mid and post credit scene, the future of the MCU Phase 5. So the first credit scene, we have all the Kangs. We have the Council of Kangs talking about how they banished the other Kang, and they were like, oh, I didn't kill him. I wanted to kill the Conqueror, but I didn't get to do it. We're summoning all the Kangs, and we're going to start incursions. And it was kind of confusing because Kang made it seem like he was the big bad guy. I'm what's coming. But then he's kind of talking about the other versions of him, which was kind of confusing because they made it seem like he was going around just destroying multiverses for the hell of it when he was doing that because of incursions. And most MCU fans don't really know what an incursion is quite yet and how that relates to the next Avengers movies, that being Secret Wars. But Kang, in a way, is doing us a favor. He's destroying universes. That way, two universes don't collide and, get demolished. So he's not just doing it just to do it. And then you have all the other Kangs who seem to be evil. I don't know. They made it seem really, strange whether this king was actually doing us a favor or not. And he's like, I'm conquering these worlds to help us and stuff like that. So it was kind of confusing there. If you know what happened, please let me know in the comments because that was a bit confusing. The second credit scene, the post-credit scene, involved a Loki season 2 little teaser where they're in old-timey USA seeing a play, and you see a variant of Kang up there, and that's it. He's like, oh, that's him. And Owen Wilson's like, wow, that's him. And that's it. And I'm super excited for Loki season 2. Loki was such a phenomenal show. But that's basically it for the mid and post credit scenes.
Let me make this easy for you. You will bring me what I need, or everything you call a life will end.
So final thoughts for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It wasn't a standout film. I thought if I had to rate it, I'd probably give it a solid 8 out of 10 max. I thought the soundtrack was great. The plot was pretty forgettable. It was mainly Kang that made everything really cool, and he was like the rock of the film in many ways. He was the quantum battery of the film, I should say. But I'm excited to see more of Kang. We're gonna see more of him, obviously. That's what is the whole shtick for the MCU going forward, at least until Phase 7. And I'm okay with this film. I thought it was a okay start for the MCU Phase 5. I think it needed a little bit more oomph, but we didn't get that. And I thought the post-credit scene and mid-credit scenes were both great. I'm tired of joke post-credit scenes. I'm really tired of them, so I really do appreciate that wasn't the case here. But overall, thank you all so much for watching. If you like this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Let me know what your favorite moment was from this movie down in the comments below and what you are excited for most going forward in the MCU. And I guess with all that being said, I will see you guys in my next look at the MCU Phase 5.
Subscribe to Zang Helios for some more unfreaking believable